Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya. Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshna Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Canto 4, chapter 19, verse 3. Yatra Yagnapati Sakshat Bhagavan Haririshwaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu. Supreme Person of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as a super soul, and he is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prthu. In this verse, the word Sakshat is significant. Prthu Maharaj was a Shakti-avesha avatara incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Actually, he was a living entity, but he acquired specific powers from Lord Vishnu. So this is Shakti-avesha avatar. Lord Vishnu, however, is directly the Supreme Person of Godhead and thus belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva. Maharaja Prithu belonged to the Jiva Tattva. The Vishnu Tattva indicates God, whereas the Jiva Tattva indicates the part and parcel of God. When God's part and parcel is especially empowered, he is called Shaktavesha Avatara. Lord Vishnu is herein described as Haririshwaraha. The Lord is so kind that he takes all miserable conditions away from his devotees. Consequently, he is called Hari. Hmm. So Lord takes away all miserable conditions away. Hmm. Consequently, he is called Hari. So we should never forget this. Whatever situation in our life, we should always remember if we have surrendered to Hari, Hari will only take away all our miserable conditions. He is not creating miserable conditions. He is taking away miserable conditions. So we can understand that actually then our miserable conditions should have been worse. And he is still taking away all the miserable conditions. So he is called Hari. He is described as Ishvara because he can do whatever he likes. He is the supreme controller. Supreme Ishvara Purushottama is Lord Krishna. He exhibits his powers as Ishvara, or the supreme controller, when he assures his devotee in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman Parityajamam Ekam Sharanam Raja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. He can immediately make his devotee immune from all reactions caused by sinful life. If the devotee simply surrenders unto him, he can immediately make his devotee immune. It is up to him. He can do whatever he likes. Hmm. So we can't order Krishna saying, Krishna, I've surrendered, now take away all my sufferings. Like you said, he's our well-wisher. He will decide what is the best course of action. But yes, he's taken charge of the devotee. That's the important part. When the devotee surrenders to Krishna, Krishna takes charge. He will do whatever is best in the interest of the devotee, not material, spiritual interest. He's described herein as Sarvatma, meaning that he is present in everyone's heart as a super soul. And as such, he is the supreme teacher of everyone. Of course, he is not present as super soul. He is present as himself, Swayam Bhagavan, in the heart of pure devotees. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. The heart of those devotees, he is not present as Paramatma, but he is present as himself, Supreme Lord. If we are fortunate enough to take the lessons given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, our lives immediately become successful. No one can give better instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. So we have to take the lessons. not not so. It's about implementing in our life. So very nice purport. So we should remember him as Hari, takes away all miserable conditions. He can immediately make his devotee immune from all reactions caused by sinful life. The devotee simply surrenders unto him. And of course, then Krishna also says that um, one has to stop the sinful life also. One, one surrenders to Krishna, then we have to stop our sinful life. So primarily the four regulative principles have to be followed. And also we should not live a grossly sinful life. The occupation that we are doing, etc., should not be grossly sinful, because everything is utterly sinful in Kali Yuga, but it should not be grossly sinful. Mm. And we should take lessons. If we are fortunate, we will take lessons from Bhagavad Gita. Then our life will immediately become successful. अन्वितो ब्रह्म सर्वाभ्यां लोकपालैः सहानुगैः उपगीयमानो गन्धर्वैर्मुनिभिश्चाप्सरो गणैः. Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the chief predominating personalities of every planet, as well as their followers, came with him. When he appeared on the scene, the residents of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the residents of Apsara Loka all praised him. The Lord was accompanied by the residents of Siddhaloka and Vidyadhara Loka, all the descendants of Diti and the demons and the Yakshas. He was also accompanied by chief associates, headed by Nanda and Sunanda. Great devotees who are always engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as the great sages named Kapila, Narada, Dattatreya, and masters of mystic powers, headed by Sanaka Kumara, all attended the great sacrifice with Lord Vishnu. Yatra dharma dugha bhumi sarvakama dugha sati dogdhi smabhipsitan arthan yajamanasya bharata. My dear Lord, in that great sacrifice, the entire land came to be like the milk producing Kamadhenu, and thus by performance of yajna, all daily necessities of life were supplied. In this verse, the word dharma dugha is significant, for it indicates Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is also known as Surabhi. Surabhi cows inhabit the spiritual world, and as stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is engaged in tending these cows. Surabhi Ravi Palayantam. One can milk a Surabhi cow as often as one likes, and the cow will deliver as much milk as one requires. Milk, of course, is necessary for the production of so many milk products, especially clarified butter, ghee, which is required for the performance of great sacrifices. Unless we are prepared to perform prescribed sacrifices, our supply of the necessities of life will be checked. Actually, this single thing, actually, we should preach. There are so many aspects in Bhagavad Gita that we can use to preach to people. But this is very very important, because everybody is worried about survive, struggle for existence, necessities of life. Now necessities of life will be checked if we don't perform sacrifices. Yajna Sankirtana prior. Then we will talk about Sankirtana Yajna. But um, Bhagavad Gita confirms Lord Brahma created human society along with Yajna, performance of sacrifice. Sahayagna praja srishtva purovacha prajapati anena prasavisyadvam yeshavo ishtakamaduk. So Bhagavad Gita, Sahayagna praja srishtva, Sahayagna praja. Along with praja, Brahma or Vishnu also created Yagna along with praja. Created human society along with Yagna. Yagna means Lord Vishnu, Supreme Person of Godhead. Sacrifice means uh, working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Yagnarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Yagnarthat, for yagna, for the pleasure of Yagnapati, Lord Vishnu. So this we should preach. So preachers can note. We want to convince people to do Sankirtana Yagna. We can just say that if Sankirtana Yagna is not performed, even we can't even have like basic necessities of life. It's a basic responsibility of human life to perform Yagna. Obviously, next question is, which is the Yagna? Other Yagnas are not possible in Kali Yuga. In this stage, however, it is very difficult to find qualified Brahmanas who can perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas. Therefore, it is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yajna Sankirtana Prayahi. that by performing Sankirtana Yagna and by satisfying Yagna Purusha, Lord Chaitanya, one can derive all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past. King Prthu and others derived all the necessities of life from the earthly planet by performing great sacrifices. Now, the Sankirtana movement has already been started by ISKCON. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join in the society's activities. Then there will be no scarcity. See, Prabhupada is saying this, so we can share this, these kind of quotes, which will arouse public interest. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join in the society's activities. Then there will be no scarcity. If Sankirtan Yagna is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. Therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly. So, see, this is Prabhupada's recommendation for the society. So, overall social welfare. Sankirtana Yagna is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. Therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life, social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly. Mm. So yagna is required. We can use this to preach to people. Chant Hare Krishna. Uhu sarvarasan madhya kshiradadhyanna gorasan taravo bhuriva varshmana prasuyanta madhuchyutah. The flowing rivers supplied all kinds of tastes, sweet, pungent, sour, etc. And very big trees supplied fruit and honey in abundance. The cows, having eaten sufficient green grass, supplied profuse quantities of milk, curd, clarified butter, and similar other necessities. If rivers are not polluted and are allowed to flow in their own way or sometimes allowed to flood the land will become very fertile and able to produce all kinds of vegetables, trees, and plants. The word rasa means taste. Actually, all rasas are tastes within the earth. And as soon as seeds are sown in the ground, various trees sprout up to satisfy our different tastes. So all the tastes are there within the earth. For instance, sugarcane provides juices to satisfy our taste for sweetness. Orange produces juices to satisfy our taste for a mixture of sour and sweet. Pineapple, similarly, pineapples and other fruits. At the same time, chilies to satisfy our taste for pungency. Although the earth's ground is the same, different tastes arise due to different kinds of seeds. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bijam Mam Sarvabhutanam. I am the original seed of all existences. Therefore, all arrangements are there. And as stated in Ishopanishad, Purnamidam, complete arrangements for the production of all necessities of life are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People should therefore learn how to satisfy Yagna Purusha, Lord Vishnu. Indeed, living entity's prime business is to satisfy the Lord, because the living entity is part and parcel of the Lord. Thus, the whole system is so arranged that the living entity must do his duty. See, this is the most important. Without doing so, all living entities must suffer. This is the law of nature. So, if we don't do our duty, Yagnai Sankirtane Prayer, if you don't do Yagnathat Karmano Natra, then there will be suffering. The words Taravo Bhuri Varshmanaha indicate very luxuriantly grown big bodied trees. The purpose of these trees was to produce honey and various varieties of fruit. In other words, the forest also has its purpose in supplying honey, fruits, and trees. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, due to an absence of yagna, there are many big trees in the forest, but they do not supply sufficient fruits and honey. Thus, everything is dependent on the performance of yagna. The best way to perform yagna in this age is to spread the Sankirtana movement all over the world. So it's a very practical solution. Prabhupada used to, he did this wherever he went, somewhere I think in Chicago. There's a lot of concern about um, people, unrest and people stealing and all these kind of, mm, increasing in the society, criminals, so many criminals. So then he talks to the police department saying that, do Sankirtana, then everything will be all right. But people didn't listen. People thought it's just his imagination or something like that. So that's why Prabhupada says solutions to all material problems is there in Bhagavatam. Mm. All material problems. So we have to preach to people the suffering and lack of necessities, do Sankirtana Yagna. You should say this is just your duty. If you're not doing your duty, so there is scarcity. Do your duty, and then the Lord will take care of it. See, this is very tricky. All the time I keep thinking. Actually, we are a institute of pure devotional service. Now, in pure devotional service, we don't talk. We should not ideally um, do bhakti for any material outcome. But unfortunately, the Kali Yuga is so fallen that if you directly simply tell people saying that come and do bhakti for the pleasure of the Lord, yeah, there will be few people who already come to that stage, so they will come. But majority of the people will be behind, how can it help me? And that's the only reason they go to God. And so we then say, okay, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradihi. So even if you have any desires, come to Krishna. Then coming to Krishna, we already discussed this. Coming to Krishna and doing bhakti will gradually purify the Atma, and then he will stop asking things from Krishna. This is the only way, actually. This is transcendental cheating. But we have to do this, otherwise, people will just rot and suffer. And there is anyway no other way. Krishna is saying, come to me. But people don't want to hear. So, what do we do? We'll have to tell these things, but we have to eventually make sure that we will not go on the path of mixed devotion. That will not continue. It's only for initial, outreach or bringing people to Krishna consciousness. Mm. So books are the best way, actually, because books, Prabhupada is talking about everything in the book, so they can understand all aspects at the same time. But yeah, if we are doing our own preaching, then we have to be very careful that we don't go on the path of Mishra Bhakti. Mm. So we have to encourage people to read Prabhupada's books. That is the only safe path. सिन्धवो रत्ननिकरान् गिरयोन्नं चतुर्विधम् उपायनम् उपाजह्रुः सर्वे लोकाः सपालकाः. King Prthu was presented with various gifts from the general populace and predominating deities of all planets. The oceans and seas were full of valuable jewels and pearls, and the hills were full of chemicals and fertilizers. Four kinds of edibles were produced profusely. As stated in Ishopanishad, this material creation is supplied with all potencies for the production of all necessities required by the living entities, not only human beings but animals, reptiles, aquatics, trees. The oceans and seas produce pearls, coral, and valuable jewels so that fortunate law abiding people can utilize them. Similarly, hills are full of chemicals so that when rivers flow down from the chemicals spread over the fields to fertilize the four kinds of foodstuffs. These are technically called charvya, chewed, lehya, licked, tushya, swallowed, and peya, those which are drunk. Chewed, licked, swallowed, and those which are drunk. Prthu Maharaj was greeted by the residents of other planets and their preceding deities. They presented various gifts to the king and acknowledged him as the proper type of king by whose planning and activities everyone throughout the universe could be happy and prosperous. It is clearly indicated in the verse that the oceans and seas are meant for producing jewels, but in Kali Yuga the oceans are mainly being utilized for fishing. Shudras and poor men were allowed to fish, but the higher classes like Kshatriyas and Vaishyas would gather pearls, jewels, and coral. Although poor men would catch tons of fish, they would not be equal in value to one piece of coral or pearl. In this age, so many factories for the manufacture of fertilizers have been opened. But when the person of Godhead is pleased by the performance of yagnas, the hills automatically produce fertilizing chemicals, which help produce edibles in the fields. Everything is dependent on the people's acceptance of the Vedic principles of sacrifice. It's so nice. I mean, there should be hills. Hills should produce chemicals. Then there'll be rain. And with the rain, the chemicals will flow down to the fields. Fields will become uh, nutritious. They'll have the required chemicals for growing um, stuff. So these are all already Supreme Lord has set up all this. Mm. So they'll fertilize the four kinds of food stuff. So natural process fertilizer is provided by the Lord. इति चादोक्षजेष्यस्य पृतोस्तु परमोदयन् आसूयं भगवान् इन्द्र प्रतिघातम् अचीकरत्. King Prithu was dependent on the Supreme Person of Godhead who is known as Adokshaja. Because King Prthu performed so many sacrifices, he was superhumanly enhanced by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. King Prithu's opulence, however, could not be tolerated by the king of heaven Indra, who tried to impede the progress of his opulence. In this verse, there are three significant purposes expressed in the words Adokshaja, Bhagavan, Indraha, and Pruthoho. Maharaj Prithu is an incarnation of Vishnu, yet he is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Although an empowered incarnation, Lord Vishnu is nonetheless a living entity. As such, he must be a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Although one is empowered by the Supreme Lord and is an incarnation, he should not forget his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. In Kali Yuga, there are many self-made incarnations, rascals, who declare themselves to be the Supreme Lord. The words Bhagavan Indraha indicate that a living entity can even be as exalted and powerful as King Indra. For even King Indra is an ordinary living entity in the material world and possesses the four defects of the conditioned soul. King Indra is described here as Bhagavan, which is generally used in reference to the Supreme Person of Godhead. In this case, however, King Indra is addressed as Bhagavan because he has so much power in his hands. Despite his becoming Bhagavan, he is envious of the incarnation of God, Prthu Maharaj. Both are empowered. Indra is also ordinary living entity and he has been empowered by the Lord to become the Lord of rain. Prthu Maharaj is also a living entity. He is empowered by the Lord to become a qualified king. Now, Indra, who is actually a servant of the Lord, has become envious of another servant of the Lord. The defects of material life are so strong that due to contamination, King Indra became envious of an incarnation of God. We should try to understand, therefore, how a conditioned soul becomes fallen. The opulence of King Pruthu was not dependent on material conditions. As described in this verse, he was a great devotee of Adokshaja. The word Adokshaja indicates the personality of Godhead who is beyond the expression of mind and words. However, the Supreme Person of Godhead appears before the devotee in his original form of eternal bliss and knowledge. The devotee is allowed to see the Supreme Lord face to face, although the Lord is beyond the expression of our senses and beyond our direct perception. Personality of Godhead appears before the devotee. If he likes, if he so wills, it's up to him. But what do we need to do to be able to come to this stage? Sevan mukhehi jivado. Atha Shri Krishna namadi navavet grahyam indriyaihi. Sevan mukhehi jivado swayameva spuratyada. Swayameva spuratyada. He will only manifest. It's up to him. Swayam. We can't force Krishna. But if he is pleased with the devotee, then he will appear. When Prthu Maharaj was performing the last horse sacrifice, King Indra, invisible to everyone, stole the horse intended for sacrifice. He did this because of his great envy of King Prthu. King Indra is known as Shatakratu, which indicates that he has performed 100 Ashwamedha Yagna. We should know that, however, animal sacrifice in the Yagna were not killed. The Vedic mantras were properly pronounced. The animal sacrificed would come out again with new life. This is a test. When King Prthu was performing 100 yagnas, Indra became very envious because he did not want anyone to excel him. Being an ordinary living entity, he became envious of King Prthu and making himself invisible, stole the horse and thus impeded the yagna performance. So he is misusing his power, Indra. When King Indra was taking away the horse, he dressed himself to appear as a liberated person. Actually, this dress was a form of cheating, for it falsely created an impression of religion. When Indra went into outer space in this way, the great sage Atri saw him and understood the whole situation. So this is the most dangerous thing. Cheaters dressed as liberated people. The word Pakhanda used in this verse is sometimes pronounced Pashanda. Both of these indicates an impostor who presents himself as a very religious person but is actually is sinful. Indra took up the saffron colored dress as a way of cheating others. This saffron dress has been misused by many impostors who present themselves as liberated persons or incarnations of God. In this way, people are cheated. As we have mentioned many times, the conditioned soul has a tendency to cheat. Therefore, this quality is also visible in a person like Indra. It is understood that even King Indra is not liberated from the clutches of material contamination. Thus, the words amuktam iva, meaning as if he were liberated, are used. saffron dress worn by a sannyasi announces to the world that he has renounced all worldly affairs and is simply engaged in the service of the Lord. Such a devotee is actually a sannyasi or liberated person. Bhagavad Gita it is said, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated. Uh, he- One who is unattached to fruits and who works as he is obligated. He is in the renounced order. And he is the true mystic, and not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Of course, somebody who is very, very qualified to come to the stage of sannyasi, yeah, but not for most people. They should just remain unattached to fruits of work and should work as they are obligated. I think based on Varnashrama. Uh, that itself is sannyasa. In other words, one who offers the results of his activities to Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and yogi. Cheating sannyasis and yogis have existed since the time of Prthu Maharaj's sacrifice. This cheating was very foolishly introduced by King Indra. In some ages, such cheating is very prominent, and in others, not so prominent. It is the duty of a sannyasi to be very cautious because, as stated by Lord Chaitanya, sannyasira alpachidra sarvaloke gaya. A slight little spot in a sannyasi's character will be magnified by the public. Therefore, unless one is very sincere and serious, he should not take up the order of sannyas. One should not use this order as a means to cheat the public. It is better to not to take up sannyas in this age of Kali because provocations are really very strong in this age. Only a very exalted person advanced in spiritual understanding should attempt to take up sannyas. Very exalted person advanced in spiritual understanding should take up sannyas because there are provocations are very strong. One should not adopt this order as a means of livelihood or for some material purpose. So many people who come on the street in you know saffron clothes and beg. We should understand that they are not doing the right thing. If they don't talk about spiritual knowledge, then they're just taken up the order as a means of livelihood. When the son of King Prthu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait." The words Tishta, Tishta are used by a Kshatriya when he challenges his enemy. When fighting, a Kshatriya cannot flee from the battlefield. However, when a Kshatriya out of cowardice flees from the battlefield, showing his back to his enemy, he is challenged with the words Tishta, Tishta. Uh, Real Kshatriya does not kill his enemy from behind, nor does a real Kshatriya turn his back on the battlefield. According to Kshatriya principle and spirit, one either attains victory or dies on the battlefield. Although King Indra was very elevated, he being the king of heaven, he became degraded due to his stealing the horse intended for sacrifice. Therefore, he fled without observing the Kshatriya principles, and the son of Prthu had to challenge him with the words Tishta, Tishta. And when we have to appreciate somebody in Vedic society, what is used? What is done when we want to appreciate somebody? In Western culture, when we want to appreciate somebody, we clap. What needs to be done in Vedic community? Anybody knows?
Do we say sadhu sadhu?
Sadhu, sadhu. Yeah, we have to say sadhu, sadhu, not clapping hands. So like tishta, tishta, sadhu, sadhu means appreciation. Very nice, very nice. You acted like a sadhu. Glorification. King Indra was fraudulently dressed as a sannyasi, having knotted his hair on his head and smeared ashes all over his body. Upon seeing such dress, the son of King Pruthu considered Indra a religious man and pious sannyasi. Therefore, he did not release his arrows. So even though he was told, he looked at him and thought, no, 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 he's looked like he's a sannyasi. Mm. When Atri Muni saw that the son of King Pruthu did not kill Indra but returned deceived by him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king because he thought that Indra had become the lowliest of all demigods due to his impeding the execution of King Pruthu's sacrifice. Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra, who was fleeing through the sky in great haste. He was very angry with him and he chased him just as the king of vultures chased Ravana. When Indra saw that the son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. Indeed, he disappeared from that very spot. And the great hero, the son of Maharaj Prthu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. My dear Lord Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful prowess of the son of King Prthu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijita Ashwa. Vijita means won over horse or won the horse. He who has won the horse. Vijita Ashwa. My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven and very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon the sacrificial arena. Covering the whole scene in this way, he again took away the horse, which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where animals were sacrificed. Again, he did not give up. Sage Atri again pointed out to the son of King Pruthu that Indra was fleeing through the sky. Great hero again chased him, but when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull at the top and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. So, second dress. First dress was also sannyasi with ashes. Second is a staff with a skull and wearing dress of a sannyasi. Again, he did not kill him. When the great Sajatri again gave directions, son of King Pruthu became very angry and placed an arrow on his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned the false dress of a sannyasi and giving up the horse made himself invisible. So second time, same thing, different dress. Then the great hero Vijitashva, the son of King Pruthu, again took the horse and returned it to his father's sacrificial arena. Since that time, certain men with a poor fund of knowledge have adopted the dress of false sannyasi. It was King Indra who introduced this. So Prabhupada is written in expectedly a long purport. Since time immemorial, sannyasa order has carried the Tridanda. Later, Shankaracharya introduced the Ekadandi sannyasa. A Tridandi sannyasi is a Vaishnava sannyasi, and an Ekadandi sannyasi is a Mayavadi sannyasi. There are many types of sannyasis who are not approved by Vedic rituals. A type of pseudo sannyasa was introduced by Indra when he tried to hide himself from the attack of Vijitashva. Now there are many different types of sannyasis. Some of them go naked and some of them carry a skull and trident, generally known as kapalika. All of them were introduced under some meaningless circumstances, and those who have a poor fund of knowledge accept these false sannyasis and their pretenses, although they are not bona fide guides to spiritual advancement. At the present moment, some missionary institutions, without referring to Vedic rituals, have introduced some sannyasis who engage in sinful activities. The sinful activities forbidden by the Shastras are illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. These so called sannyasis indulge in all these activities. They eat meat and flesh, fish, eggs, and thus just about everything. They sometimes drink with the excuse that without alcohol, fish, and meat, it is impossible to remain in cold countries near the Arctic zone. The sannyasis introduce all these sinful activities in the name of serving the poor. And consequently, poor animals are cut to pieces and go into the bellies of these sannyasis. As described in the following verses, such sannyasis are pakhandis. Vedic literature states that a person who puts Lord Narayana on the level with Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma immediately becomes a pakhandi. As stated in the Puranas, Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Devatahai Samatvenaiva Viksheta Tapashandi Bhavedruvam. In Kali Yuga, the Pakhandis or Pashandis are very prominent. However, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has tried to kill all these Pakhandis by introducing his Sankirtana Yagna. Those who take advantage of the Sankirtana movement of his Khan will be able to save themselves from the influence of these Pakhandis. The one who takes up Sankirtana Yagna will be able to save themselves from the influence of these Pakhandis. Whatever different forms Indra assumed as a mendicant because of his desire to seize the horse were symbols of atheistic philosophy. According to Vedic civilization, sannyasa is one of the essential items in the program of the Varnashrama institution. One should accept sannyasa according to Parampara system of the Acharyas. At the present moment, however, many so-called sannyasis or mendicants have no understanding of God consciousness. Such sannyasa was introduced by Indra because of the jealousy of King Prthu. And what he introduced is again appearing in the age of Kali. Practically none of the sannyasis in this age are bona fide. No one can introduce any new system into the Vedic way of life. If one does so out of malice, he is to be known as Pashandi or atheist. In Vaishnava Tantra, it is said, Yastu Narayanam. Yeah, same. Although it is forbidden, there are many Pashandis who coin the terms like Daridra Narayana and Swami Narayana. Although not even such demigods as Brahma and Shiva can be equal to Narayana. Now you know what this is. You would have heard of Swami Narayana, Daridra Narayana. So you know which are authentic, which are authorized, which are not bona fide. In this way, King Indra, in order to steal the horse from King Prthu's sacrifice, adopted several orders of sannyas. Some sannyasis go naked, sometimes they wear red garments and pass under the name of Kapalika. These are simply symbolic representations of their sinful activities. These so-called sannyasis are very much appreciated by sinful men because they're all godless atheists and are very expert in putting forward arguments and reasons to support their case. Very important. So many people who, in the name of spirituality, they talk garbage. And they're all actually godless atheists. But people cannot make the difference. Oh, they think, oh, he's talking so nicely. He's talking so scientifically, meaning he's an atheist. You must know, however, that they are only passing as adherents of religion and are not so. In fact, unfortunately, bewildered persons accept them as religious and being attracted to them, they spoil their life. And we see this also practically in Kali Yuga. So many such people. And when a bona fide acharya like Prabhupada came, very few people accepted. Why? Because he's giving rules. He's saying right, he's saying wrong. This is, I mean, he's telling people saying this is wrong, this should not be done. Then people don't want it. People want cheap stuff that satisfies their needs, that satisfies their way of thinking, or in line with their way of thinking, and they accept such people who speak garbage. Mm. Vedic Shastras practically prohibit the adoption of sannyasa in age of Kali because less intelligent men may accept the sannyasa order for cheating. But of course, today, even without sannyasa dress, people are cheating in the name of, you know, saints. The only religion is the religion of surrender unto the Supreme Person of Godhead. We must serve the Lord in Krishna consciousness. All other systems of sannyasa and religion are actually not bona fide. In this age, they are simply passing for religious systems. This is most regrettable. Maharaj Prthu was celebrated as very powerful, immediately took up his bow and arrows and prepared to kill Indra himself because Indra had introduced such irregular sannyasa order. That is the duty of the king, not to tolerate introduction of any religious system. King Prthu was an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Certainly his duty was to cut down all kinds of religious systems. Following in his footsteps, all heads of state should themselves be bona fide representatives of God and should cut down all irreligious systems. But they themselves are religious, irreligious. So what to do? Unfortunately, they are cowards who declare a secular state. Such a mentality is a way of compromising religious and irreligious systems. But because of this, citizens are generally becoming uninterested in spiritual advancement. Thus, the situation deteriorates to such an extent that human society becomes hellish. It's because of our leaders who want to create secular state. When the priest and all the others saw Maharaja Prthu very angry and prepared to kill Indra, they requested him, "O great soul, do not kill him, for only sacrificial animals can be killed in the sacrifice." Such are the directions given by Shastra. Dear King, Indra's powers are already reduced due to his attempt to impede the execution of your sacrifice. We shall call him by Vedic mantras, which were never before used, and certainly he will come. Thus, by the power of our mantra, we shall cast him into the fire because he is your enemy. Now, this is also Namaparada. Prabhupada will explain this later because this being used for some selfish gain, using the Nam for Nam no Baladyasya Papa Buddhi. It was not correct because Indra was also a servant of Supreme Lord. So this approach taken here was not actually approved. My dear Vidura, after giving the king this advice, the priests who had been engaged in performing the sacrifice called for Indra in a mood of great anger. When they were just ready to put the oblation in the fire, Lord Brahma appeared on the scene and forbade them to start the sacrifice. Lord Brahma addressed them thus, my dear sacrificial performers, you cannot kill Indra. It is not your duty. You should know that Indra is as good as the Supreme Person of Godhead. Indeed, he is one of the most powerful assistants of the Person of Godhead. You're trying to satisfy all the demigods by the performance of yajna, but you should know that all these demigods are but parts and parcels of Indra. How then can you kill him in this great sacrifice? In order to make trouble and impede the performance of King Pruthu's great sacrifice, Indra has adopted some means that in the future will destroy the clear path of religious life. I draw your attention to this fact. If you oppose him any further, he will further misuse his power and introduce many other irreligious systems. Let there be only 99 sacrificial performances for Maharaj Prthu, Lord Brahma concluded. Lord Brahma then returned towards Maharaj Prthu and informed him that since he was thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what was the use in performing more sacrifices? Lord Brahma came down to pacify King Prthu regarding his continual performance of 100 sacrifices. King Prthu was determined to perform 100 sacrifices, and Indra took this very seriously because Indra himself was known as the performer of 100 sacrifices. Just as it is the nature of all living entities within this material world to become envious of their competitors, Indra was also envious of King Prthu and therefore wanted to stop him from performing 100 sacrifices. Actually, there was great competition, and King Indra, to satisfy his senses, began to invent so many irreligious systems to obstruct King Prthu. To stop these irreligious inventions, Brahma personally appeared in the sacrificial arena. As far as Maharaja Prthu was concerned, he was a great devotee of the Lord. Therefore, it was not necessary for him to perform prescribed Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. So, devotees don't have to perform karma kanda. Such ceremonies are known as karma, and there's no need for a devotee in transcendental position to execute them. Of course, then many devotees say we are not in transcendental position and execute them. No, but we should be on the path of pure devotion. On the path of pure devotion, we know we are not qualified, but we want to be qualified. But we depend on Krishna, and then we don't engage in karma kanda. As an ideal king, it was Prithu's duty to perform sacrifices. A compromise was therefore to be worked out. By the blessings of Lord Brahma, King Prithu would become more famous than King Indra. Thus, Prithu's determination to perform 100 sacrifices was indirectly fulfilled by the blessings of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you, for you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, you should not be angry with King Indra, who is not different from you. So Pruthu is Brahma is advising Pruthu, you do only 99 and don't be angry. Don't think that Indra, because of Indra, you couldn't do 100. And because both of you are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and he is not different from you. All Jiva are so. And more importantly, here both these were, special Jivas who had been given special powers. So Brahma is saying, okay, can stop the fight. My dear king, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifices have not been properly executed due to providential impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. So please see this very, very important instruction. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. Sometimes the saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. So devotees might have to meet reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential, meaning by providence, by the will of Krishna. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. See, please note this. We should not try to counteract such reversals. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection, we should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. Very, very powerful instruction in just like, a small paragraph. Whatever happens is the will of the Supreme Lord. We should not be sorry. We should not try to counteract such reversals because the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we get caught up in. So, which means what is the practical implication here? For example, we have some reversal, we can try to counteract, but then we should not become so involved hmm, that we enter into the darkest region of anxiety. The more we get implicated, the more we enter into the darkest region of material anxiety, which means that we become problem conscious. So what Krishna is saying, just tolerate. Very, very powerful instruction. One second, I'll just see if there is a continuation. Okay, so we'll stop here. How many more verses are there? 35. Oh, still 7 more only. Lord Brahma continued, stop the performance of these sacrifices, for they've induced Indra to introduce so many religious aspects. You should know very well that even amongst the demigods, there are many unwanted desires. Just 5 minutes, I'll just wrap up. So there are very unwanted desires. So we should not go into that direction. Just see how Indra, the king of heaven, was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial heart. These attractive sinful activities as introduced will be carried out by the people in general. And so Prabhupada is saying, Yadyadachariti Shreshtas, whatever great man performs, common men will follow. For his own sense gratification, Indra thought to defeat King Prthu, so he stole the horse and hid himself and amid so many religious personalities, taking on the false guise of a sannyasi. Um, Such activities are attractive to the people in general, therefore they are dangerous. Brahma thought that instead of allowing Indra to further introduce such religious systems, it would be better to stop the sacrifice. Mm. And Prabhupada is again highlighting Sankirtana Yagna. No. Yeah, so here they are also saying, um, in Calcutta there are many butcher shops which keep a deity of goddess Kali, and animal eaters think it proper to purchase animal flesh from such shops, in hope that they are eating the remnants of food offered to goddess Kali. They do not know that goddess Kali never accepts non-vegetarian food, because she is the chaste wife of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also a great Vaishnava and never eats non-vegetarian food. And goddess Kali accepts the remnants of food left by Lord Shiva. Therefore, there is no possibility of her eating flesh or fish. Such offerings are accepted by the associates of goddess Kali, known as Bhutas, Pishachas, and Rakshasas. And those who take the prasada of the goddess Kali in the shape of flesh or fish are not actually taking the prasada left by goddess Kali, but the food left by Bhutas and Pishachas. O King Prithu, son of Vena, you are part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Due to the mischievous activities of King Vena, religious principles were almost lost. At that opportune moment, you descended as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, for the protection of religious principles, you appeared from the body of King Vena. Okay. O protector of the people in general, please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. The religious principles created by Indra are but mothers of so many unwanted religions. Please therefore stop these imitations immediately. Maitra continued, when Prthu Maharaj was thus advised by the supreme teacher Lord Brahma, he abandoned his eagerness to perform yagnas and with great affection concluded a peace with King Indra. Immediately accepted. After this, Prthu Maharaj took his bath, which is customarily taken after the performance of a yagna, and received the benedictions and due blessings of the demigods, who were very pleased by his glorious activities. With great respect, Prithu offered all kinds of rewards to the Brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all these Brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. All the great sages and Brahmanas said, O mighty king, by your invitation, all classes of living entities have attended this assembly. They have come from Pitruloka and the heavenly planets, and great sages as well as common men have attended this meeting. Now all of them are very much satisfied by your dealings and your charity towards them. Let's end the 19th chapter. Okay, we'll stop here. Yeah, some devotees had questions. Yeah, Prabhu, Rohini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, bro. Bro,
Yeah.
I have a question. So you said that we should try for basically improving the situation, but in case it is not happening, then we should not over endeavor and not to basically do something for the painful reverses, right? So
Yeah, so just a caveat. So at a very high platform of surrender to Krishna, devotees don't do and don't attempt at all, especially when it is about their own personal life. They don't even attempt. But because we are not at that level, I'm saying we can attempt, but not get too much into. Don't fall into this material consciousness, problem consciousness. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, bro.
Yeah, also sometimes it is for the benefit of the family members because they are not basically, let's say, favorable towards the old parents and all that, right? So,
Mm.
what should be the dealing of a devotee here? Because that is affecting the devotee parents, as well as sometimes it is basically the situation that we have to balance the situation at home also.
We can
And
try. We can try. But see, we have to understand, Prabhu, all of these are preordained. The old parents have their own karma phala. People in the house have their own karma phala. And especially if the people are not devotees, then they have to go through their suffering. We can try. This is the way of this material world, na. This in-laws. This is normal problem which exists in every house. So it's yeah, we can try.
yeah, okay, bro. And another
Yeah.
question regarding Pashandis, which Prabhupada explains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just wanted to confirm that the Sahajiyas, right, who are basically following the sentimentalism and just not having that jnana, right, properly. So do they also fall under this Pashandi group, or that is?
No, they are adharmic. They are doing wrong by actually imitating and I mean basically it's all sinful activities, right? Pashandis are atheistic, so there is difference. Is that okay? Pashandis are atheistic. They don't even believe in God. These people believe in God, but they are just taking the wrong path.
Hmm.
Yeah, but their belief
So
in God is also like not complete, not clear understanding of God. In some way, we can say sense gratification. But the other class is openly atheistic. So they're all Maya, Aparata, Gnana, Naradama. So all these classes, different classes.
uh-huh. So as a devotee, should we also try to preach them to come to that pure devotional level, or like what should be?
To whom? Rajiyas.
No, no, to the Pashandis
No,
who.
no, no. Pashandis, we have to remain away. No, that we clearly know. Madhyamadhikari doesn't engage with atheists.
Okay.
Madhyamadhikari, we should not do because they will become they are offensive. They'll become offensive towards the Supreme Lord, then they'll go to hell. So we will become like indirectly responsible for that. No, we have so many. I mean, there are so many pious people out there. We should preach to them first. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Rohini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Yeah,
Prabhupada.
Pranam.
So, Indra is also devotee of Krishna, right? So, don't he know that like he
Yeah,
should not do like this? And also,
yeah.
Why Brahma instructed only Prthu Maharaj, not Indra?
Very good question. Anybody wants to answer? See, this is why we have to understand the, we have to understand devotional service clearly, right? So the difference is King Pruthu is pure and Indra is a mixed devotee.
Oh,
All
oh,
demigods are mixed devotees, Mishra Bhaktas. So Mishra Bhaktas have this material desire. And so even though they are devotees, but their material desires are important for them. So they will not, so then right and wrong goes out of the window, right? When there is Mishra, mixed devotion. That means they depend on Vishnu, but they still have their own material desires to maintain. Mm. And that is
okay.
the difference. And why did now you can only answer. Why did Brahma then tell Prithu,
Because
not
he is
Indra?
pure so that he can understand.
Yeah, he will understand and accept it.
Mm,
He simply didn't even argue, right? He just said, okay, done.
right. He took it.
Yeah.
But how do we apply it in the real life, Prabhu? Like, we are not pure, right? We know
No,
so
why
many.
we are not pure? We should not
We're
see.
mixed,
We should
Prabhu. We still have, material
no, no,
desire.
Mataji, that's okay. But
Mm.
we should not encourage ourselves to be saying, oh, okay, I am Mishra Bhakta. I mean, it's not something laudable. I mean, it's not some appreciated position. Right? Yeah, we are Mishra, but that's just a fallen condition. We have to understand. Oh, I have I have material desires, but can I also have a desire that I don't want to have material desires?
Ah, true. That we can have.
If I can have a desire that I don't want to have material desires, unfortunately I'm stuck because of my past vasanas, etc. But I don't want. I'm clear. I don't want to become a mixed devotee. I want to become a pure devotee. That desire itself qualifies one as a pure devotee in KG1 standard.
Right. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Next.
Yeah, Chiranjeev Prabhu.
So if we have done something wrong, and how to know that this problem consciousness should go away? Like if suppose how to differentiate between whether we are problem it's Lord providence, or is it our mental weakness?
No, no, there is no distinction here. Providence can manifest as mental weakness, or providence can manifest as physical weakness. It can be anything, right? But we should understand two things. One is there is already some situation, and then we can contribute towards that situation also, in the sense that um, there is a situation. If somebody whose mind is strong, they'll say, okay, fine, see, this is my karma phala, I'll just accept and move on. Somebody whose mind is weak, he will keep dwelling in the same problem. So I mean, but we should understand the situation happened because of our karma phala. One who is strong minded will say, okay, it happened, fine, I learned something out of it and I'm moving on. A weak minded person will keep on going about the same situation. And we should not do that. There is no question of, I mean, what is the use of philosophically trying to understand whether it is my mind or whether it is providence? I mean, the point is that we should stop. And it's waste of, if it is not Krishna conscious, then it's not useful for us, right? So, na sochati na kankshati, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na sochati na kankshati. He does not lament, nor does he desire something, hankers for something. Whatever it is, whatever is the material situation, a liberated person will not hanker or will not lament. That is the path we have to follow. See, we should not go into philosophy where it is not required, as in trying to know whether it is my mental weakness or whether it's providence. How is it going to help me? But the important point to note is saying that it's not Krishna conscious. That is the important part. Is that okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes, bro. Yes, bro. I understood.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one more question, but not related to this. Actually, I'm reading 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And in mode of goodness, we can see things as they are, but not in ignorance. So, but like when we slowly come to the mode of goodness, we can see. So, how does this certainly works? How does it
Certainly.
covers or uncovers?
Yeah. Traigunya Visha Veda Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. Krishna tells Arjuna, raise above the three modes, and then subsequently he says, how do you raise above the three modes? By doing bhakti. So by doing bhakti, automatically we have to transcend the modes. And we should see that how will we know we have come to sattva? When we know that our rajas and tamas is becoming zero, then we know that we are slowly making progress.
I mean, I'm trying to understand like how do they work on us? Like certainly, like not theoretically we can understand. So
Subtly nahi, it's not subtly. It's by the chanting process. Our tamoguna, rajoguna will keep decreasing. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And sattva increases. Now automatically we can know. For example, I mean, so many things we can experience in our own life, right? The way we used to deal with situations before we came to Krishna consciousness and today it's much different.
Right.
Right? Now, lot more, our ways are lot more sattvic, or at least lot less tamasic, and then slowly
Yeah.
it will be lot less rajasic, and then it will be lot more sattvic, and that we are seeing in our life. For example, I mean, like sleeping and wasting time, we would have all done that, right? Now we would have cut that down, or becoming, angry, upset. It would have been lot more before. It's lot less now. So many things like that. Different devotees would have experienced different kinds of cleansing that would have happened in their life, and that means that means that we are
Slowly coming out.
slowly coming out.
Where do they sit, Prabhu? In the heart or in
Heart,
the
heart,
mind?
heart,
Heart only.
heart only. Heart, mind, there is no difference. Heart means not physical heart.
Yeah.
Physical heart is mechanical, right? It's dead.
Right.
Heart, mind is the same thing. In Shastra, when we use the word heart, it means mind only. Because mind is the seat of thinking, feeling, and willing.
Mind, is it in the head or in the heart then?
It's in the region of the heart. Heart is the seat of the mind, it is said. The physical heart is the
Okay.
seat of the mind.
Right. Okay, Prabhu. Thank
Okay.
you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Vamshi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, there was a discussion on reversals, right? So,
Hmm.
and in Bhagavad Gita, there is also uh, shloka which says about endeavor and not to over endeavor. So,
Hmm.
are these
Same
like
thing. Yeah,
same thing?
Yeah.
Same. Okay. Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then we'll close. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय मान सकल पतरुभ्यः कृपा सिंधु पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः गौरी वैष्णव हरे कृष्ण। Okay.